So today I want to talk about, I just came back from a retreat. I was in New Mexico for 5 days. And the quote of the trip was, when you step in shit, spread your toes out.
Okay, I like it.
When you step in shit, spread your toes out. What happens when you step in shit? What's your reaction? Someone tell me what they would do.
Laughing.
You would laugh.
I just stepped in shit.
You just stepped in shit? Okay, so tell us.
I slid, it splashed onto my calf.
Oh no.
And I just was maniacally laughing and wiping it off with leaves.
Okay. It was a good spirit. Nice.
And I had shoes on, so I couldn't spread my toes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suck it.
What else do we do when we step in shit?
Shit.
Shit. What's the negative reaction that we might have?
Why the fuck did this happen?
Victimhood, upset. What else do we feel? Anger, annoyed. Yeah. This conversation is really about something we often call shadow work, but the invitation here is really, like I said, about learning to be with all of the human experience. And we live in this culture that has really conditioned us through multiple means to be really uncomfortable and avoidant of discomfort, to be really disconnected from our pain, to be really disconnected from negative or bad emotions. Like there's this spin on anger and sadness and rage and anguish and depression, that they're bad, that they're stigmatized. We learn to condemn these parts of the human experience that are through the lens of mindfulness, which is about non-judgment. It's about removing the stigmatization that we put on things, good or bad. They're just emotions. Pain is just pain. It's a resource. It's a part of our wiring to alert us to something. It's information. So are emotions. Anger is an emotion, or it's information that's guiding us to something. And through one means or another, we've again become conditioned to really push all that down. And we've also been enabled with the opportunity for instant gratification and instant avoidance at the push of any number of buttons that we all have on our pockets, but we have all around us, really at our back end call. I don't know if that's the correct phrase or not, but you know what I mean. So what do? We just avoid all this shit. So when we step in shit, we react, we avoid, we're upset. We don't know how to deal with it. And what's the consequence of this? Like if we're not dealing with all of these burdens and these challenges and these aspects of our human experience, the pain and the discomfort, what's the cost?
Shit's gonna stay there.
The shit's gonna stay there. Yeah. You're gonna smell really bad. Yes, this analogy is a zinger right now.
You know what kind of shit is that?
You don't know what kind of shit you're stepping in. Yeah.
I don't know.
So you go on confused and perhaps playing out and carrying with you the same smelly piece of poop everywhere you go, and living with that internally, affecting your loved ones with your free smells. We carry all of this. When we avoid it, when we're not dealing with it, and there's no judgment in this, because all of us have been given the same disadvantage, but also the same opportunity to learn and grow and reconnect with our body and our brain and our heart's natural digestive systems. We have this. What mindfulness is about, coming back to our ability to be with and process all of this. But right now we live in this day and age that culturally is enabling us, and the cost is that we carry around our burdens and we don't deal with them. So take a moment right now to just close your eyes and just check in with yourself and just reflect internally, what have I been carrying with me today that I maybe have been unaware of or unwilling to address? And surely you're going to have some thoughts about this. There's going to be some cognitions. And then just noticing maybe where in the body you might feel that. For example, we tend to carry tension in our chest or in our shoulders and our jaw. And that stress can be a reflection of any number of stories or emotions that we haven't worked through. Just noticing if there is something that you've been carrying with you and really meeting that lovingly, welcoming it. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. We're going to come back to that. Did anybody notice anything that was super obvious? They're like, oh shit, yeah, I've been carrying this all day long and I didn't even notice it.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I felt like peacefulness, and I haven't felt peaceful all day.
Mm.
I felt really agitated, and I've been with it, but I like noticing that there's also like peace happening too. That's what it was.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So like
It's the reverse.
reciprocal. Yeah. It's like we're carrying these good feelings that we're not attending to either.
Right.
So it's a whole other ball game when that comes to somebody. Anything else come up for anybody?
So,
Yeah.
very peaceful.
Yeah.
And I felt
Yeah.
heartache specifically.
Yeah. Your heartache is welcome here, as much as your peace is. For sure. Yeah. And I know that was a short, just momentary reflection, and we're gonna meditate and create some more space. So if nothing obvious came up, that's okay. This is a skill and a relearning and it takes some time and effort to build that intimacy and that connection. But the benefit of being able to be with, which is where the mindfulness comes in. So spreading your toes out in the shit analogy is really like shadow, like we're going deep into it. But before we even go there, I think where mindfulness lends a really beautiful hand in learning to be able to process and grieve and handle pain and do all of this work that may be outside of this building today, is equipping us with the compassion to be with what we're carrying. So we talk a lot about letting go. And I think often what is missed, this is my own chip on my shoulder, but I think what is missed in a lot of healing communities is taking the time to really be with. And so the million-dollar question is, and I shared this last week, but there's one thing I want you to take with as something you practice or just reflect is like, can I be with this? Can I be with this? Can I be with this ache in my knee? Can I be with this heartbreak? Can I be with this agitation, this peace? Because it's the resistance, it's the avoidance, it's that we're ill-equipped to be able to be with it that really causes us a lot of our suffering. So carrying these things, we're unconsciously repressing, not wanting to deal with them, and we're just feeding them energetically, and they're creeping in to our daily lives in ways that often we're not even aware of. And in some, we're glaringly aware of. And so what we're learning here to do, what mindfulness equips us to do, is to learn to, again, do that U-turn and become compassionately aware of all of ourselves, even the uncomfortable bits. And well, obviously, we do want to let go. We want to relieve ourselves. We don't want to feel angry forever. We don't want to feel the heartbreak forever. We don't have to. There's a natural digestion that happens when we attune to our system and bring that back online. And when we can drop the expectation and just be with all of these things we're speaking of, they will process and leave on their own. But when we bring in this like very subtle energy of fixing, of criticism, of I want this to go away, we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot. So in the phrase, can I be with this, is equipped all of the energy of mindfulness that we need in order to process and be with these difficult parts of being human. There's the curiosity, it's a question. And you don't have to answer yes. There's going to be times where can I be with this is a no. And that means you need to go take a bath or go eat a cheeseburger. And there's a beautiful self-love and discernment in that. So it's not a one and done. There's a curiosity, there's a permission that it's inviting. And there's a compassionate tone, like even the way that you ask the question, can I be with this? Can I hold this? Can I hold myself? Very different energy than trying to fix or push away that quick fix band-aid that we've been equipped to use over and over again. It doesn't really work very well. These things creep up. They stay with us.
Feels like a lot of the resisting that I have, a lot of the avoidance I have, or like concepts like that. I feel like the resistance, it feels like survival, like so this is part of like how I survive. So
Yeah.
So you were just saying like you take so maybe you can't go there mentally, but you physically give yourself some sort of experience, whether it be like a cheeseburger or something, but just like alter your state a bit, and then you dive into it a little. Or like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that you bring that up. And really, we talk about skillful means in these practices. Like, there's no right or wrong way. Each person's going to learn to discern what works for them and when it does and when it doesn't. And the avoidance, the repression, the pushing away, like that's a survival mechanism. Like, that's our brain wiring. Like simply put, we're wired to look for good experiences, to look for pleasure. Pleasure is designed as a very intense system in the human brain. Why attachment and community are very intense mechanisms. And the brain is reciprocally or conversely also wired to avoid pain, avoid discomfort, avoid death, So there is a survival mechanism inherently built into all of us. And our upbringing and our childhood and our wounding, but also, again, this culture that we're living in is, again, I think enabling the kind of like extreme of that. So to answer your question, there is a growing pain of having to kind of do what maybe feels counterintuitive, because maybe for a lot of us for a long time, it's easier to not fucking deal with it. And as you practice, you start to recognize, well, what's the actual cost of these things. And won't go super into it, but as you start to get in touch with yourself, your relationships more intimately and honestly, you recognize the ways in which the avoidance creates more self-sabotage and more resistance. So there has to be a desire, a force for change, because it is uncomfortable. You are moving through and working through survival wiring. And there is also like an alternative innate survival system that I think is a part of what's coming back online, that wants to be back on, which is that, like, the same way that our stomach knows how to digest food, our brain and our body and our nervous system knows how to digest trauma, it knows how to digest energy. We lost touch with that growing up. So we're overriding our ego's sort of short-term compensation programming and returning to this more sustainable program that exists within us. And both are meant to help us survive, but there has to be a little bit of inertia, and it can be uncomfortable. And as we're doing it, we're also being really discerning of what our limitations are. So you talk about, like, in trauma-informed approach to mindfulness, you have a window of tolerance. So our aim is to stretch our window a little bit. What can I be with that's maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but not pushing me into dysregulation, not re-traumatizing me or really overwhelming my nervous system and creating me to go into fight or flight. We want to stretch ourselves. That's why the compassion and the curiosity and the gentleness and the inquiry is so essential. And we want to begin to know when, like, can I be with this? Is there's a no to that. And maybe I do need a different form of self-care that's not, like as intimate and turning towards. And I think also something that you really brought up that's really beautiful is thinking about how to use your physiology to your advantage. So like exercise and breath work and mindful movement and music and whatever helps you kind of calm your nervous system and release endorphins and change your physiology is going to support what your growth window is. Because if you are super fucking stressed and tense and you haven't moved your body in 10 days, it's going to be so much harder to be with the stress in your shoulders. And if you do some yoga, dance around a little bit, and now see, can I be with this? So we're learning, kind of pulling in other things, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to get to is how can I find a way back to really holding all parts of this? Does that?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So the practice that we're going to do, I think is going to be our core practice in this group, because I think it really, you heard me talk a lot about this turning towards the uncomfortable things, and I really feel like that's a big motivation for this space and what I think is so essential and needed in our culture and for all of us. But before I explain the technique and we do a longer practice, I want to read a poem. You'll appreciate this, Juliana. It's The Guest House. Yes. Do you have it memorized?
Yeah. I'll probably be stage fright right now.
Okay, I'll do it.
For
Okay.
telling us about.